There is a voice, somewhere between your shoulders and your skull, that has never been kind to you, not once. And you have spent your life believing, without ever examining the belief, that this voice is what keeps you from falling apart. You treat it as discipline, as ambition, as the thing that made you, shaped you, pulled you through the years. You imagine that if it were ever to go quiet, you would drift, that you would lose the edge, that the life you built would begin, slowly, to unravel. So you keep it. You keep it close. And even when it hurts, you tell yourself, this is what it takes. It isn't. What follows is a case, as carefully as I can make it, for why that belief is wrong, where the voice came from, what it actually does to you, and what begins to happen when you let it quiet. The belief that being hard on yourself is what makes you better is one of the most widespread, most unexamined, and most damaging ideas in adult life. Almost everyone carries it. Almost no one inspects it. It runs silently beneath decades of work and relationships and parenting and striving, shaping what people chase and shaping what they feel when they catch it. And it is wrong. To understand why, you have to look at where the voice actually came from. No one is born criticizing themselves. A 2-year-old does not look at a drawing and decide it is not enough. A 2-year-old looks at a drawing and announces, with total conviction, that it is a dog and that the dog's name is Stephen. The inner critic arrives later, and it arrives in a specific way. It arrives, almost always, because somewhere in childhood, in a home, or a classroom, or a body, or a culture, a child learned that their worth was conditional, that being loved or being safe required them to monitor themselves, to anticipate the mood of the room, to hold themselves to a standard they had not chosen, and to notice every moment when they fell short of it. The voice in your head is not you. It is a strategy your younger self developed to stay loved, in circumstances that did not always guarantee love. It was, at the time, useful. It kept you close to the people whose approval you needed. It got you, in some cases, through a situation you could not otherwise survive. It got you to here. But it has not updated. The adult version of you, the one in their 30s or 40s, is running a piece of software designed for an 8-year-old. And that software was never about growth. It was about survival. Which is why it is, still, so relentless. Here is what that voice actually does to you, in the present. It does not make you sharper. It makes you frozen. The threat of its disapproval narrows your window of tolerable effort, which is why you procrastinate on the things that matter most. Because the critic's punishment is loudest when the stakes are highest. You are not being lazy. You are being protected by the part of you that decided long ago that it is safer to not try than to try and be seen as insufficient. That is not discipline. That is fear, wearing the clothes of discipline. It does not make you more ambitious. It makes you more avoidant. Shame is a poor fuel for movement. You can coast on it for a while, but over years it hollows you out. You begin to stop caring about things, not because you have become wiser, but because the cost of caring has become too high. It does not make you more honest. It makes you more performative. The person being watched, even by an internal watcher, cannot be fully themselves. They are always angled slightly toward the camera, and it does not in any meaningful way make you better at what you do. The research on this is not subtle. Kristin Neff, who has spent 2 decades studying self-compassion, has found, across thousands of subjects, that self-criticism consistently predicts worse performance, not better. People who respond to their own failures with harshness learn more slowly, take fewer risks, and give up earlier than people who respond to themselves with warmth. This is counterintuitive, which is why almost no one acts on it. The natural resistance is immediate. You hear the findings, and a part of you says, If I stop being hard on myself, I'll become lazy. I'll slide. I'll lose the edge that got me here. The voice that has been running the operation for 30 years is, for the first time, being threatened. And it responds, predictably, by telling you that its absence would destroy you. This is a projection. It is not a truth. The critic has convinced you, because it has had no competition, that it is the thing holding your life together. It is not. You are the thing holding your life together. The critic is one of many voices, and in most of the cases, where you have actually grown, where you have done real work, where you have become better, it was not the critic that carried you. It was some quieter thing that wanted the work for its own sake. That quieter thing is what ambition actually is. And the difference matters. There is a kind of ambition that comes from wanting something. A skill, a life, a relationship, a feeling. It is generative. It builds. And it does not exhaust you. There is another kind of ambition that comes from running away from shame. It feels identical from the inside, especially in the middle of the running. But it has a different texture. It is heavier, it does not rest. And the person running it is almost never able to enjoy what they catch, because the catching was never the point. The point was the not being caught. Most high-functioning adults are running the second kind of ambition and calling it the first. If this sounds familiar, if you have been, for years, moving at a speed that does not allow you to breathe and producing work that never quite lets you feel finished, you have not been unusually driven. You have been unusually afraid. And here is what actually happens when the critic is allowed to quiet. Not in some sudden, liberating flash, but slowly, over months, sometimes years. The first thing that happens is not that productivity falls. That is the fear, and the fear is wrong. What happens is that productivity keeps going, but the flavor of it changes. The work begins to feel less like survival. It becomes, for the first time in your adult life, something you are doing because you want to, rather than something you are doing so the voice will let you alone. The second thing is that the life you are actually building begins to shift. The one you were constructing under the critic's direction, the life you were supposed to want, the one where you looked, from the outside, like a person who had finally earned the right to rest, begins to lose its grip. You start building instead the one that the quieter part of you actually wants. It is usually smaller. It is usually stranger. It is almost always more yours. The third thing is harder to name. It is something like, you stop disappearing when you are not performing. And then eventually, the voice itself begins to age. It does not vanish. It probably never vanishes, but it loses authority. You can hear it at 3 in the morning saying the old things, and you can, without anger, without argument, recognize it for what it is. A survival strategy that outlived its purpose. A small, frightened part of you that is still, after all these years, trying to protect a child who no longer needs protecting. You can let it speak. You can thank it even. And then you can gently decline its advice. So if you are, at this moment, carrying a voice that has not stopped measuring you since you were 11, a voice that wakes up with you and goes to work with you and lies down with you at night, then consider this. You do not need to be hard on yourself to be good. You never did. The voice that has been speaking to you for 30 years